It's a miracle that movie's PG-13.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I got to see it.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Boy, howdy.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Sher.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. And today we're going to go and do another mailbag.
Mailbagging it.
Mailbag. Do we have sound effects for that?
Sure, man.
I want the mail.
You've got mail. Yeah, we get tons of questions on Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, email, tons, and you know, sometimes it feels pretty bad that we can't get to all of them.
Yeah.
So we do like, you know, our 3 or 4 or whatever at the end of every podcast and everything. We're not answering everything. I mean, so it's good once in a while to sort of, I guess, do a purge of the mailbag or whatever and ask a whole bunch and try to get a bunch of these questions answered. And again, sorry if we don't get to your question today. There's a lot of great ones.
Yeah.
And we sometimes just don't get to even some great ones.
There's some poor bastard who's going to listen to this whole thing like, finally, they're going to answer my question. And then when we don't, he's going to be like,
they just hate me, don't they? They just hate me.
We have a good representative sample. The people that write in questions a lot, we tend to get to, sometimes multiple times. Yeah, we try to get, you know, the international ones are really fun, too, because it kind of gets a different perspective. Definitely tell us where you're from if you're outside the U.S., or even if you're in the U.S. You know, try not to do one from the same person all the time, so we get a good variety. And there's some excellent questions out there.
Yes,
absolutely. And we're going to try to answer a bunch of them today for the entire episode. So let's get on with it.
Let's do it.
Question. I think we got a stack of mail out there at the desk that belongs to you. Now, you want that mail, don't you?
I got something to say. I want the
mail.
All right, one of my favorite sins you guys do is the movie wants me to be okay with this, and I am not okay with this sin. I love that, too.
That's a Jeremy original right there.
That was the Bruce Willis one.
Yes,
Looper,
it was.
Right?
Yes, it was.
I basically feel like the entire movie of Premium Rush is a movie length of that sin. That's an interesting point. Other movies where cops end up in massive car accidents because of the actions of the Daredevil protagonist, and it's just shrugged off, also kind of pissed me off. So my question is, what are the worst examples in movies of the aforementioned sin?
Okay.
Wow.
So I've got one written down here, but the one that he mentions in the question about the protagonist killing a whole bunch of people on the road and everything, no movie does this to the hilt better than Taken 3.
Oh, yeah.
So Liam Neeson, who stupidly runs away from a crime scene thinking that everybody's going to think he killed his ex-wife for some stupid reason. He's like, I know I'm innocent. I'm Harrison Ford, goddammit. And so he runs away from the cops and all this other type of stuff. And then there's a one point where he gets in the car and he's driving down the road and like causes so much chaos, like kills probably 20 to 30 people on the road because he's innocent and he doesn't want to get caught by the cops and everything. And by the end of it, they're all like, well, you were innocent after all. I guess we're going to just totally forget about all those people you killed that we were trying to pull you in before.
There's two things that every single defendant on every episode of Matlock always did wrong. And that was they touched the murder weapon at the scene where they were not the murderer, and then they flee the scene.
Yeah.
Every single episode, those two elements. I've watched a lot of Matlock because my dad loved that show, but you just reminded me of Matlock.
It's like that ham-handed thing in North by Northwest where like Cary Grant goes to the United Nations and he's going to talk to that guy and somebody throws a knife into the dude's back that he's talking to, and then he goes over and just like as the guy's falling, grabs the knife and then pulls it out as it comes down
it in a threatening way.
It's like, what are you doing, man? Even in a crazy situation, I know not to touch the fucking knife.
Well, isn't there that is a Die Hard, one of the later Die Hards where he's in Russia that he runs over like He's in like that big utility vehicle, and he just smashes up all these cars.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And like everybody's dead, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That was a good day to die hard.
Good day to die
We care
hard.
less about that, though, because they were Russian.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like these people are killing people on the road. There's, of course, a lot of things we can get into about traffic in movies and how
Yes.
stupid it is. But anyway, the one that I wrote down is the supernatural sports movie. So
This is a genre, basically.
we're talking like Angels in the Outfield, The Sixth Man, Flubber, these type of things. Almost every time casual observers see what's happening out on the field, they're like, that's really strange. Or, whoa, so weird, and all that.
Yeah.
And they don't ever think to themselves, cheating or fucking ghosts.
Let's see the ball corkscrew around several times before line driving to a home run, and nobody goes, that defies the laws of physics.
Right. Like there's
I'm still
something,
going to cheer.
there's
Bravo.
something definitely not natural going on here, but that guy's a good player, so he can just do things that's always the main problem with those movies. We don't see them much anymore. It's like a almost 90s construct.
Yeah, late
and
80s
everything.
into 90s.
To have something out of the ordinary happen like that, and people just going, "Whoa, that's just strange! Whoa, what happened there? That's
Remember
so
the
crazy!"
Sixth Man with Kadeem Hardison?
which I just mentioned. I mentioned that in the. I mentioned that at the top.
Damn it! Just when I think I'm paying attention.
No, it's an Angels in the Outfield, Sixth Man, and a Flubber.
Oh, okay.
But like, yes, the Sixth Man is exactly like that.
Yeah, he's actually a dead ghost, like stopping the ball in midair and tipping it into the bat. Like, there's all kinds of just rule-breaking shit, and the crowd's always just like, winning!
We went to an Angels game when we were out in Anaheim, and we saw this amazing Mike Trout play where he came up and from mid-center field threw this guy out at home, maybe on one hop. It may have just gone straight
ridiculous.
And we were in absolute shock that was something that could be done. And that was a human play.
Yeah.
Imagine if he had like jumped 60 feet in the air and done that.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing, right? If he had jumped 60 feet, did the Daryl Strawberry in The Simpsons.
Well,
yes.
Even Teen Wolf, like, always bothered me.
Oh, my God, yes.
Because, no one thinks cheating
Yeah.
because
Right.
he can jump 3 times as tall. But also, if ever there was a movie where we needed, like, the shady E.T. government dudes to come into town and, like, cause a subplot, it's fucking Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
But instead, the town's just like, we're cool.
Yeah.
We'll just call him Wolfie.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever reason. No
got
one's going to call the cops or the government or the Area
Actual
51.
genetic wolf playing out in the fucking court.
And somebody wants to fuck it, too.
Yeah, I know. I
The
know.
girl, he wants to be in a play. They want to cast this guy as like the Confederate general or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then fucking, what's her name? Pamela wants to fuck him
Yeah.
as the wolf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
The movie's all kinds of fucked up.
So, yeah, there you go. Everybody should be like Clooney and From Dusk Till Dawn in these movies. It's like, I don't believe in ghosts, but what I just fucking saw was ghosts.
I believe my own 2 eyes,
Right.
and what I saw were fucking ghosts.
Exactly.
Awesome. My mind immediately went to Daddy's Home because we've recently seen this movie, and from a moment about 15 minutes in on, none of this should be happening.
Yep.
And basically, from the moment Mark Wahlberg is allowed to stay over and temporarily live in the house, and I'm like, game over.
Yeah.
You fucking lost me. I realize comedy puts characters in slightly extreme situations, but this was too extreme. And everything you're trying to do from here on out with your comedy relies on this.
Yep.
That he's around for everything, allowing these two men to compete. There's a bunch wrong with this fucking
With
movie.
no support from his wife either.
His
Well, that's
wife
the problem, right? The problem is the Linda Cardellini character
is completely unbelievable.
the decision as to whether he stays at the house or not is totally on Will Ferrell. It's
Yeah.
like, well, if you want to do it, just go ahead. Like, were you not married to this guy?
Yeah.
Isn't there a reason you're divorced now?
Yeah.
And, oh my
well,
God.
this is the perfect example of how lazy this movie is, and I think we pointed out in the Sins video, is when they're at the fertility doctor, and Wahlberg takes out his dick, and the Cardellini character's like, oh,
Yeah,
right,
and
right.
the Sin was like, haven't you seen this thing at least twice?
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, two fucking
right.
kids.
And the movie doesn't even care about that. It just wants to make a giant dick joke
Yep.
and has people react. Anyway, fuck
Right.
that movie. The other one I wrote down was Lucy,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is a movie that begins with the concept of we only use 10% of our brains, which has long since been proven hogwash.
Mhm.
And then just escalates the stupid from there. But I
Right.
can't get on board with that movie from moment one.
Yeah.
And I don't really care if some of the action is cool or a couple of the performances are neat. I don't
Yeah.
really care.
No.
And then when she turns into ether, I
Yeah.
get angry.
Yeah.
Like, I got
Right.
angry when I
Oh,
was
it's
watching
so
that movie.
fucking stupid.
And so, yeah, movie wants me to believe any of this is possible. And
Yeah.
the movie can fuck
Not
itself.
to mention, it starts off with like an hour-long Morgan Freeman symposium
Yeah,
or something
seriously.
like
Wasn't
that.
he on that podium like the entirety of the movie
Yeah,
until
I
the
mean,
very
it
end?
felt like it. He's it's basically him talking and then like intercut with all this like Terrence Malick
Yeah.
nature shit.
Yeah.
And then like it gets done. I mean, seriously, it is something like 20 to 30 minutes of the movie he's in there. And then he goes to his hotel or whatever.
Right.
And that's when by that time he gets to the hotel, she's gotten to the powers enough to be able to like broadcast herself into the
Right.
TV and everything.
Fuck
And
that
everything,
movie.
you know.
Oh my god! And that movie has a following.
Yeah. It
Like
made
that was
over-
when the
made over
Valerian.
100 million, and yeah, now anytime Luc Besson comes out with a new movie, it's like director of Lucy, and you're like, oh,
Of all the shit that he's done,
yeah.
this is what you're tying your shit to. That's not good.
No, but they're going to make another one, too.
Are they really?
He's not going to direct it, I don't think.
It'll probably be that other guy they get when they can't get Luc Besson. That was the dude that does like the transporters and all that. It's gonna be it's gonna be that dude.
He's Luc Besson's Henry Selnick.
Yeah, it's pretty much that guy.
They're gonna call it like Margaret,
Yeah, yeah.
Betty.
Or Peppermint Patty.
Peppermint Patty.
Yes.
Peppermint Patty.
Nice.
Mm.
So I've got two, both of which involve Vince Vaughn and a Wilson brother. And always bothers me. There's a lot about Old School that bothers me. But there's one in particular. And then when I was watching Wedding Crashers the other day, something bothers me about that too. So both of the main female characters, Ellen Pompeo in Old School and then Rachel McAdams in Wedding Crashers, are these ethereal, wonderful women that are beyond reproach. They're fantastic. They're homey. They're funny and they're smart and all that stuff. But they are in a relationship with fucking assholes.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, we all know
With
like
zero redeeming, like
No.
never once show niceness at all.
no.
ever.
I mean, we all know people that are in fucked up relationships, and yes, you can't. Maybe they've got a. There's nothing with these guys. It's fucking Craig Kilborn in Old School, and Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper's even worse. We
Oh,
see
yeah.
more of how awful he is.
This is why I get these two movies confused sometimes.
Yeah, well,
Because
it's
of that,
fucking
that
Luke Wilson
dynamic
and Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't get on board with the fact that and there's no conflict in these relationships, by the way. They're set to be married. They're going to get, they're together forever until a Wilson brother shows up and charms the pants off of them, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And, even when somebody like proves that he, in Old School, he's in a frat and he does all these terrible things, Ellen Pompeo's like, oh, I'm not going to fuck with that guy anymore,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, what? Yeah, Kilborn's that much better?
Mm-hmm.
And then in Wedding Crashers, arguably he does have, a terrible backstory, but like she fucking cuts him off immediately until
Yeah.
he shows up at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I am not all right with that.
I agree.
These women are too smart to be with these fucking assholes.
Well, that's the one thing that bothers me about Tin Cup is that Rene Russo's
Yeah.
character would be with Don Johnson's character that long. And like there's two moments in the movie where somebody tries to tell her, he hates old people and dogs both times. And then at the end of the movie, he yells at some old people and fans. And I think he even says something nasty about a dog. But she stays with him for way too long. She should have seen something that showed his asshole tendencies somewhere along the line.
Although I do think that with Don Johnson's character, you could maybe see a little bit, like maybe when they're alone or whatever that. Whereas in these other instances, I don't see it. 51st? No, is it 51st Days? No, it's Wedding. It's the Wedding Singer. The
Oh,
Wedding
yeah,
Singer
yeah.
that has that same dynamic with Drew Barrymore's character.
Right.
Like the dude that she's with, like first off, I don't think they would ever be together. Like there's just no match whatsoever. But like he's the same sort of deal. Like everything he does is like, he buys that. He buys a CD player for like $500 or something like that in the 80s or whatever, and he's like, and she's like, oh, we're gonna play some records. He's like, you don't play records on this, hon. It's a CD. It's like, and he's just a dick the whole time. Like, I would like to know how they did get together. It had to have been some sort of niceness at the beginning. I don't know.
I mean, you can make a character a little bit more sympathetic and still have the comedy there. You don't have to have Bradley Cooper be a full-on asshole. Like,
Right.
it makes you feel better, I guess.
I got another one. Owen Wilson and Cable Guy.
That
date should be over in 20 seconds.
Easily.
What's up with my chicken, man? Did you have to kill it out back, or what does he say?
It's like, well, could you get on it right away, compadre?
Yeah.
Me and my date are really hungry. Some crap like that.
He's just an asshole from moment one. She should not even stay on that date. I mean, he gets his ass kicked and he gets his comeuppance very shortly. But
that's the problem with what you're talking about. There is sort of an essential problem with movies, is that the main character has to be the good character, has to be the choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other character has to have like an irredeemable flaw to them, so that it's easier for them to break off this relationship and go with somebody else by the end of it.
Yeah, and fucking
it just comes off so phony.
It does,
because you can make that person somewhat nice, but then like find some other reason that they don't need to be together.
In old school, Craig Kilborn, his only scene is when he's hitting on that fucking waitress.
Yeah.
And and then Luke Wilson coming. We're not knocking now.
Yeah.
You can't tell, right? It's guy code.
It's something that chicks do.
I really like this one, and I put a lot of thought into it. Hearing you guys talk about sanitized PG-13 movies got me thinking, what are some of your favorite PG-13 movies? This person has a great example. He goes to Dunkirk because he thinks that's a great example of a movie that doesn't need R-rated content to hold the viewer's attention. The bonus question, sub-question, that may have been asked already. What are some PG-13 movies that you'd like to see get an R rating? Or go into that territory? I love this.
There's obviously a lot of great PG-13 movies, but I don't know if I can get something completely within this category, like that needed to be R or whatever. I mean, I guess the ones that I'm picking don't need to be R. Inception, I think, is a really good PG-13 movie.
Good call.
It's got a lot of like real dark themes in it. I mean, that Cobb character DiCaprio plays is going through some shit, man.
Yeah,
and it's got a lot of gunplay.
It does, and they soften that a little bit by like making these projections like things you don't care about whatsoever, which is also a flaw of the movie. So it's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, he's going through a lot of stuff, and that stuff with Mal and everything is just, it's really adds a lot of darkness to a movie that's just a high concept, fun action movie. And I think it does pretty well. I don't think they were ever going to. I don't think there's an R-rated version out there.
No,
really.
I mean, what would you do? You would have more blood, I guess, and some profanity, but no, that's in the perfect niche right there.
Doesn't need to be there. The other one I came up with was Quiz Show. I think there might be one fuck said in Quiz Show, and I think it's when John Turturro calls Charles Van Doren Charles Van fucking Doren.
Yeah, you're right.
And then it obviously doesn't need a lot. The Hank Azaria character does his best to try to make that R-rated, constantly mimicking hand jobs and stuff like that. But you didn't need Rob Morrow and Ray Fiennes in there going, "Fuck you, man! Fuck this! Fuck that!" Which is probably what they were probably doing in real life, because this is everybody's life on the line here. You're a public figure and you're getting taken down. But those are two really good PG-13 movies, I'd say.
Cool.
The movies that should be R, we mentioned this, I think, the last podcast about Happy Death Day and everything.
Yeah.
Really, almost any horror movie shouldn't be PG-13.
No.
It's so... there's something about every single one of those PG-13 movies that smell of, let's get the kids in the theater.
Yeah.
Every single one of them is like that. And so when you watch a PG-13 horror movie, it's almost what's the point? Now, I really liked Happy Death Day.
Yeah, me too.
But you're right about how it's just kind of like held back a
All
little
of those
bit.
themes are screaming R rating. I mean, they do what they want. That's fine. Again, it's an interesting movie, but her behavior, like the way that she gets around, the stuff that she does, the fact that, and we're not, lauding, hey, you got to show boobs or whatever.
Right.
But the fact that she walks through the quad naked,
Yeah.
but it can't be shown,
Right.
is just like, it's exactly, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, it's just, it doesn't, I mean, why do you even have that scene at that
Right.
point? Like, oh, she's naked? Well,
It's like you're watching network TV.
I mean, she might as well be in a bikini. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
There was a couple others that I thought of. Like, I thought Last Action Hero could have benefited from being R-rated.
Oh,
and I know that
would be interesting.
I know that there was a joke in there where they're like, he shows him the card that says fuck on it or whatever and tells him to say it. And he says, I can't say it and whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know, because this movie's PG-13. Okay, that's your one joke that you have for it being PG-13. There's really no other reason to make this PG-13. So I felt like that could have benefited a little bit. It could have been a little bit harder edged and everything. I think it would have saved that movie a little bit too, because I think a lot of people thought this was watered down Arnold Schwarzenegger, because everything he had done up to that point had been hard R.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The movie's even aping R-rated movies.
Yeah.
But because it's not R, it takes some of the sting out.
Yeah, it really does. And I think people were like, I don't want to see an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that's PG-13 and sanitized for the masses and everything. This just doesn't make any sense. And one other one, I don't think it would have saved it, but Live Free or Die Hard was a PG-13 movie.
What the fuck was that all about?
One chapter in that franchise that decided to be PG-13. No more evidence of a wanting to get more audience in somehow, even though the franchise did very well being R-rated than this one. And I looked at the IMDb rating. It's got a 7.2. I think people love this Live Free or Die Hard. I don't understand. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I didn't hate it as much as A Good Day to Die Hard, but there's a scene in there where Bruce Willis is going to say his catchphrase, yippee-ki-yay motherfucker, and they have to censor it.
Yep.
And it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like if the whole reason you're here to see Live Free or Die Hard, you're probably old enough to hear a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what this whole thing. Let's appeal to the new. I guess they were trying to get new people in on Die Hard. I don't know.
I think they were trying to get a new audience. It had been long enough since With a Vengeance.
Yeah.
That
it had been like 12 years.
I think they were afraid the franchise didn't have the pull that it did. And so they made it PG-13. They got some hot young stars in there.
Is that the one with Timothy Oliphant?
Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah.
And
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Justin Long.
Yeah. Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith. That really attractive woman whose name escapes me, who kicks ass.
I don't know. I haven't seen
it's
it.
Like
forever.
Timothy Oliphant's woman.
Oh, it's is it Maggie Q?
Oh yeah, it is.
I think it might be.
Yeah.
Where were we?
I think
is
it's
it
your
my
turn.
turn?
Yeah.
Well, The Martian is my PG-13 example that is a perfect rating.
Yep.
And I've praised it before for how it sneaks so many F-bombs in there in unconventional ways to kind of skirt that unwritten rule or what have you. But other than that, this movie doesn't need to be R-rated.
Mm.
There's nothing that, you want him to make dick jokes now? You know what I mean? And he actually does make a have sex with yourselves joke. In the book, I'm pretty sure it's fuck your mothers. But other than language, there's no reason for a movie like this to be rated R, and it benefits by, again, this is an instance where PG-13 opening it up to a wider audience is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a movie that has, I think, in many instances, R-rated consequences or themes that the actor is facing, not the actor, the character is facing. So that's my example of a good PG-13.
And you have that great joke too after he goes through that whole thing where he basically writes a bunch of F-bombs into a whole thing. The guy's like, F-bomb in gerund form.
Yeah.
And goes through all the different parts of speech and crap.
F-word again.
No, that's perfect, because I showed that to my kid when he was 7, I think. And just because he's super into science. And he wasn't affected by the language or anything like that. There's nothing salacious about it. It's a great story, and it's about science and stuff like that. It's perfect.
Yeah,
Good
I
for
think
him.
that, I mean, that's my example. Now, a PG-13 that I think could have stood to be R. I have two I like. I Am Legend. Now, this was probably at a time, and maybe this is still the case, probably at a time where Will Smith maybe was shying away from R-rated type content because he was a family star, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to take this role where you're going a little crazy, talking to mannequins, and it's got guns, it's got hordes of vampire things, in terms of violence, language, even themes, I think this movie could have easily gone R.
Mm-hmm.
And been even more compelling. Now, granted, I may be on an island. I really like this movie. And I know maybe most people just think it's okay. I like seeing. I guess I just really like movies that take their time with long lack of dialogue.
Oh yeah, me too.
Just that first hour, just watching what his life is like in New York with that dog, I think is pretty freaking awesome. But again, I think there's stuff that we could have seen that in an R rating that would have made the movie more visceral. Still needs better CG, so
Yes,
maybe
it
the
does.
rating won't help.
Yeah.
My other one was Chronicle.
Ooh.
Now, I get that it was a superhero movie about high school kids, so probably never had a shot to be rated R, even though horror movies about high school kids are rated R all the time. But this movie goes, or tries to go, to some dark places with the Dean DeHaan character.
Yeah.
And if you were allowed to be R-rated...
By the way, it's Dane DeHaan.
Dane DeHaan?
Dane DeHaan.
Dean DeHaan. Dane DeHaan.
It's Dane DeHaan?
Yes, D-A-N-E.
I thought it was Dean DeHaan.
D-A-N-E.
Interesting. I've learned something.
Barbecue sucks. Anyway, I think if you just let them be what real high schoolers in that situation would be in terms of language, hey, how do my superpowers affect my sex life?
Yeah.
So on and so forth. And then you can let this character who's in a dark place and is going to get darker go a little further. And I think Chronicle's pretty good. So I'm not saying it suffered from being PG-13, but I think it could have been a little better. It was really good.
Well, I mean, you look at you mentioned it. Some of our favorite high school movies benefit by being R-rated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and things like that. There's a couple of exceptions like Easy A or Clueless or something like that. But, you know, most of the time if you have American Pie or something like that where you got kids talking the way that they usually talk and doing body things like that, it's more enjoyable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
We like sex. We Americans. We love it. We like the sex.
Not like I do. Not like I do.
The perfect PG-13 movie for me is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh.
And the reason why is that it has it has the hallmarks of, you know, what would be, you know, adult content. It's got some sex in it. It's got some violence in it. It's got some cursing in it. But Indiana Jones as a character is just on this side of cartoony that if you went down that like gritty, realistic type of route, I think it would suffer for it. You want to keep it to where it's exhilarating. It is a little bit cartoony. It is a little fantastical, even though it's based on realistic stuff. So that to me is the perfect example. Now, it's interesting because Temple of Doom was the first one to have a PG-13 rating, right?
I think so. That's one of those when did it come in type of things that I always hear different things about. Like one, I thought it was Poltergeist. I thought Poltergeist was the one, but I've also heard Temple of Doom was one of the reasons for this PG-13 rating to be made and everything. And who knows, there could be some other ones in there too that set that rating. And I remember NC-17 being Henry and June. That was the first one that started that all up. But
have you ever seen Henry and June?
I have.
Is it worth an NC-17 rating?
No,
Not really.
No,
it's pretty tame.
Not at all.
I mean, Showgirls, you understand, I guess, you know?
I mean, I think we all probably had that phase in our lives where we were trying to rent movies like that without making eye contact with the video store clerk.
I'm gonna look this up for posterity here so that we can have this on the record. In the early 80s, complaints about violence and gore in films such as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Gremlins, both of which received PG ratings, refocused attention on films seen by small children and preteens. According to author Philippa Antunes, this revealed the conundrum of a film which could not be recommended for all children but could not be repudiated for all children uniformly. leading to speculation that the rating system scope, in particular its PG classification, no longer matched a notion of childhood most parents in America could agree on. Steven Spielberg, director of Temple of Doom and executive producer of Gremlins, suggested a new intermediate rating between PG and R. The PG-13 rating was introduced July 1st, 1984. The first film to be released with this rating was 1984 John Milius war film Red Dawn.
So Temple of Doom played a role in it, but it was rated PG.
That is correct.
Which is it's definitely the most violent of that trilogy. That
I don't think you can do brain eating anymore and still be PG.
Or reaching into pulling out a still beating heart.
Yes.
That fucked me up when I was a kid, man.
The brain eating is
And
what
of course,
did it for
now
me.
that was from Wikipedia. That could be John Milius getting in
Citation
there and
needs.
saying me like, I had the first PG-13 movie. God damn it!
He definitely talks like
He
that.
does. He does talk like that.
You sound exactly like it.
I know.
The PG-13 movie that I think would benefit from an R is another surprising pick maybe for me. It's Suicide Squad. There is no fucking reason for Suicide Squad to be PG-13.
Oh yeah, that's one of the most recent examples.
Yes, I mean it's not going to save it for sure.
No,
but if I'm going to be stuck in watching this horrific morass of Suicide Squad, go all the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I don't know if that's a Will Smith thing too, but like, fucking go out there, man, and make this like really bawdy.
I remember seeing trailers for this, thinking that's what they were going to do.
Right.
Like, I didn't think there was even any question that this was going to be an R-rated movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just shocked when I finally saw ratings on it. It's like they just decide not to. Like, I really thought they planned to make that R-rated, and then at the last minute, no, they always wanted to make that PG-13.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there was the groundswell for a second about like, oh, we need to make, especially after Deadpool, we need to make these superhero movies R-rated and everything. Batman v Superman is not going to be better if it's R-rated. Mm-hmm. It's going to be shitty regardless. Suicide Squad is the perfect opportunity to do this. Mm-hmm. So I think it's
I'll
bullshit.
tell you what, have you heard about how Scorsese's developing like a Joker origin film that will stand separate from the DCEU?
Huh.
You haven't heard that?
I haven't heard that one. It's
pretty crazy, and he's actually, I guess, circling Leonardo DiCaprio to try and play him or what have you. First of all, this is a pretty unnecessary movie.
Yes.
I don't want to see the origins of the Joker because it's almost like the midichlorians and
Kyber crystals.
Kyber crystals. You're robbing us of the mystery of the Joker. If you tell me how he became how he is, it's going to matter less to me. But it's Scorsese.
And there's so many origin stories that are just considered the standard.
Yeah.
Like the
We've
killing
seen a ton
joke.
of it. Yeah.
The Killing Joke is the one that I guess most people consider the canon at this point. And then you have, Tim Burton coming in and doing the whole, we've seen Bruce's parents get killed a million times, but you have after that, him getting involved at the Axis Chemical Factory and all that. It's like so I guess the Axis Chemical Factory factors into both of those though, but it's not the same way.
Because Jack Napier was just a gangster.
But it just happens at the end. By the end of it, they're at this chemical factory or whatever. Whereas in Killing Joke, he's sort of lured there.
He's that weird red helmet thing.
Yeah,
the Red Hood. Yeah, he's duped by the criminal guys. Anyway, my reason for bringing that up is a Scorsese Joker origin film better fucking be rated R.
Yes, yes.
And if it's not, I'm not even going to watch that shit.
Yeah. No, you want to see some dark shit.
Well, if any DC movie was going to need an R rating more than Suicide Squad, it's fucking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done this, I think, the other way around before, but this is a new way to look at it. What's a trailer so bad that you are shocked that the movie was good?
It took... I don't think I have a good answer for this, by the way, because I don't remember very many trailers where I was like, wow, what a shitty trailer, and then watched the movie and went, oh, why was that trailer so shitty? Yeah. I'll really need to think about it more because I went through a whole bunch of trailers in my head and I was like, that was a good trailer for a bad movie.
Right.
Or that was a good trailer for a good movie. Or that was a bad trailer for a bad movie.
Yeah.
So it's not very many that were fitting into this. But one I remember just because Clueless had so much bad marketing for me I was 18 when that movie came out. Like, I thought this was just all going to be nothing but vapid characters doing vapid things.
Yep.
And that was what the movie was. We had a standee that was in our lobby that was just all glitter and fucking, like just all sorts of shopping bags and all that. And I was like, who's going to watch this movie? And the trailer was like that.
Yeah.
The trailer was like a whole bunch of just like California schoolgirl isms, as if whatever, and all this type of stuff going all the way through it. And it really misses sort of the heart of that movie. When you start watching Clueless, you realize, oh, she's got a lot more going on, even though there's a facade going on here where she's like trying to be popular and all this other type of stuff. You can see some heart there, even at the first 10 to 15 minutes and everything. Now, the trailer, now that I know what that movie is, the trailer is a lot funnier because I know where it's coming from.
Yeah, because it's grounded now.
Right.
I had to literally be told by my older cousin that this was a good movie. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going to go see that. The same exact reaction that you had. And my cousin was just like, no, man, like it's actually really good. And went to see it, man. It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
I also struggle with this question. So I have a couple different types of answers. The Matrix is my answer, but I've told that story a couple different times in the podcast, that the trailer, I was laughing at it, and it's now my favorite movie of all time. Little did I know, because I think the trailer was showing off the action, and I couldn't get hooked on the action until the movie explained why they could run on walls and dodge bullets and shit like. So I just thought I was looking.
Does it really explain anything about the Matrix in that trailer? It's been a while since I've
No,
seen
in
it.
fact, the whole theme behind that trailer is nobody knows exactly what the Matrix is.
Yeah.
You'll have to find out for yourself.
Yeah. What is it? Anyway, so again, I'm going to name a few movies that I don't think have bad trailers. But when I saw the trailer, I didn't care about watching it. And then later when I watched the movie, I loved it. The first one is Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, nice
Now,
one.
part of the reason was, Planet of the Apes reboot. I remember when this happened before, and it was very disappointing.
Right?
And there's James Franco, who at this point in my life, I was not sold on any of him being quality. And so I just stayed away.
Yeah.
Eventually, Chris beat me over the head with a DVD and said, watch this fucking movie. And I did, and it was awesome. Same thing with X-Men First Class, because it felt to me like another reboot, a cheap ploy. Let's recast younger and go back, and then now we can do it. Well, exactly what they've done. We can tell the story every decade or what have you.
Yeah.
And I just was unmoved by all of that. I guess I had my fill after X-Men Last Stand.
That was Last Stand, and then the Wolverine movie.
Yeah.
At least one of them, maybe both of them.
And so I just was unmoved. And again, Chris was like, hey, you got to watch this movie. It's fucking awesome. And I love First Class.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are my answers. I don't think those two had bad trailers, but
No.
I was unmoved by them.
They didn't promise much.
No, I agree with that.
Man, I got an old one that stuck in my memory because I saw it so often. There was this marketing ploy for 1987's Moonstruck that it was everywhere, especially primetime TV. Just every commercial seemed like it was this. And the movie's fantastic. It was nominated for an Academy Award. Cher actually won for her performance there. But this trailer is just almost incomprehensible. It's edited all to hell. It's Cher and then Danny Aiello, and then you got Nicolas Cage coming in. And there's this thing that they played on repeat that was just like, Nicolas Cage is like, I love you. And Cher smacks him. She's like, snap out of it.
I remember that.
And I'm like, God damn it. So I went back to confirm that it's a shitty trailer. And it is a pretty shitty trailer, but it's an awesome movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that we haven't really brought up, I don't think.
But you're right about that smack over the head thing. I must have seen that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
That movie was everywhere.
Yeah.
When it came, like, it was getting all the commercials and all the buzz and all the trailers. And
Yeah.
It's okay.
Did you not like it?
I like it okay.
Yeah, it's
I need to watch it now that I'm older and appreciate film more, because I think I watched it, I don't know, somewhere in my late teens, early 20s, and I didn't give a shit about Cher. I didn't give a shit about love.
It's also it's an all-timer director that did it, Norman Jewison did that movie. So it's something worth looking into just to sort of look over his career as well. So.
Yeah, no, and it's really well written. It plays out like almost like a Neil Simon, Woody Allen type of script. Woman marries one brother and then falls in love with the other brother, that kind of thing. And it's really, really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this one's fun, too. Hey.
Hey.
First off, hey.
Hey.
First off, I love your show and podcast. Thank you so much. This person recently saw Being John Malkovich, and I was wondering what your favorite roles in movies where actors play themselves or fictionalized versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Cameos not included. This person's favorite is Malkovich.
He, of course, steals the best one.
Yeah.
Especially when you say cameos not included.
Yeah, no kidding.
The first thing that I thought of, but it's not him playing himself. It's I thought it was, trying to remember back to it, but was DiCaprio in Celebrity.
Oh, yeah, but he's playing himself, but he's not himself.
He's playing himself, but he's not playing Leonardo DiCaprio. And he's basically playing like a Johnny Depp type of, like, you know, smash his hotel room type of actor and everything. And this is right after Titanic came out too.
Yeah.
So it was like a perfect, like, you know, image type of movie to get into. But
that's the one with Kenneth Branagh as the
Kenneth Branagh's playing the Woody Allen
friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
But so that doesn't count. But you know, there's a few I think that you mentioned in your own answer that I'm going to go. I mean, you said Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You mentioned a couple in there, but like Jason Biggs and James Vanderbeek play like funny versions of themselves in that, and I think that's like a perfect match, like a perfect 2001 match. You know, like those two guys. Jason Biggs was hot off American Pie.
They even call him a pie fucker, right?
Exactly. And James Vanderbeek is still kind of like riding that Dawson's wave. Kinda.
They call him Dawson in there too, right? Yeah.
So it's the perfect like group to be, you know, the perfect duo to be playing those like actors within the movie playing the
even when they're getting arrested because they have a mistaken identity, like Jason Biggs being thrown into the car is like, I'm the pie fucker.
Yes. In prison he'll be the pie. But there's a number of them in The Player.
Yeah.
And I came up with 4. There's probably even more though, but The Player, I just love how all these actors interact with Tim Robbins' character in this, because they all have that face on, like, I got to talk to this guy, but I really hate this guy.
Yeah.
And like, so John Cusack's talking to Tim Robbins at the like restaurant or whatever. And he's like, where are you going next? I'm going to Telluride. He's like, well, maybe I'll see you there. And John Cusack's like, okay. And like, there's a point where he runs into Burt Reynolds, and Burt Reynolds is like, oh, hey, I was working with you on that last thing. Oh, yeah, whatever. And he starts walking off, and Burt Reynolds is like, asshole. Anyway. And then there's a moment in there where now Bruce Willis and Julia Roberts don't play themselves, but they're playing actors playing what they would play in that last movie that we've been hearing about all the way through the whole movie and everything. The whole thing was like, there's no Bruce Willis, no fucking Julia Roberts. This is reality. Blah, 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 blah. And it is, of course, at the end, it's Bruce Willis saving Julia Roberts and everything. And which is funny to me because they also essentially play themselves in Ocean's 12. That one scene.
Yeah.
So Bruce Willis is playing Bruce Willis, and Julia Roberts is playing someone who looks like Julia Roberts in Ocean's 12. So
pretending to be Julia Roberts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What does Matt Damon say to him about the Sixth Sense?
He's like, you know, I figured it out after a while or whatever. Yeah. he's like, at first, I didn't know. It was like, but no, it was good though. It was good.
My only real answer here is a cheat because it's a TV show, but Seth Green on Entourage.
Oh, it's so good.
Playing like asshole version of Seth Green. Constantly
so funny.
Fucks with E.
Yeah.
Tell Sloan I said, what up?
It's so funny, and he just obviously relishes it and enjoys it. But you also know, because the main characters in Entourage are based on Mark Wahlberg and his friends, there probably is a real Seth Green something out there who was another popular actor that he beefed with. Their two crews didn't get along or what have you. But he shows up on multiple episodes, at least one season, maybe more. And he's really, really funny.
He says something so asshole in this series that you're laughing and you want his ass to get beat at the same time.
Yeah.
when he goes, I blasted in Sloane's face like a Jackson Pollock to E. It's like, it's on. Like, those are fighting words. You're laughing your ass off. You're like, oh my God, please throw down after you say that. Oh my God.
That's a very satisfying conclusion too, because E, at that fight, that final fight, because he may have said, that's maybe what he said, and he's just like, man, you know what, you're not worth it. And then Johnny Drama comes from behind and just fucking punches him in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is the end. Got kind of positive and negative reviews. I actually ended up liking it a lot. But this is the end. Is everybody playing themselves?
Oh yeah.
It's the whole like, Apatow, Franco, Rogan type of crew there, and Danny McBride and all that stuff. And some of that stuff is pretty funny. The Craig Robinson stuff is kind of funny. Some of that stuff goes on way too long and goes way too far. But I fucking love the Michael Cera character in this, because he's fucking insane. He's all coked up. He's smacking Rihanna on the ass. He goes. My favorite part is where Jay Baruchel goes in the bathroom. I watched this the other day. He's got coke all over his ass, and he's getting a blowjob.
You're gonna have to say that again. You're gonna have to laugh this one out and say it again.
He's got coke all over his ass. He's getting a blowjob, and he's getting somebody from behind too. And Jay Baruchel walks, and he's just like, "What's up?" He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And he's drinking a juice packet like a Capri Sun. And he's staring at Jay Baruchel, and he hands the Capri Sun to the girl, and he can hear like this sucking noise. Fucking great, man. Oh my God. Yeah, he's definitely the best part, because it's fucking Michael Cera, and I guess that's why they chose him for that.
Definitely.
But, oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, so that's gonna be my answer.
Got one of those smiley headaches right now.
Yeah, I when I said my started off my answer with Jason Biggs and James Vanderbeek, one thing that you would put in your answers was Ben Affleck and Matt Damon playing in there, because they play great hyper versions of themselves and everything. So lion face, lemon face, oh
man, it's great.
How do you like them apples? I don't like them apples, Will. What are we gonna do?
They're all huddling up and everything before the scene, and they're like, well, why don't you just talk to Gus? And he's over there counting his money. Just
it's like, man, I'm busy.
Okay, here's a nice easy one here. What are your favorite product placements in movies? This person likes the futuristic Lexus ad in Minority Report.
Yeah, again, stealing the best answer.
Yeah.
Question asker. I mean, I like that they give examples, but start giving worse examples so we can
make it real shitty.
Mine is Wayne's World.
Yeah, that's perfect.
The whole thing is about, them doing ads on the show and doing product placement on the show. And then them telling Rob Lowe, we don't bow to any sponsor, but all during the time that they're doing this, saying no to all this. They're eating Pizza Hut, like straight up at the camera. They even do a whole like pill commercial, just like the pill commercial was back in that, where it was all black and white and 2 yellow pills would go on the hand and all
Little
that.
yellow.
Exactly. And they just keep going through all these basically just ads all the way through it. And it's so funny because it's just so like wink at you and everything. And so, yeah, that's my favorite.
I love it when they pan over to Garth and he's got all that Reebok shit on.
He's got the shoes.
And he's like, it's just really sad.
It's like people just do things to get paid.
I do love the Cadillac one in Bad Boys 2 where they basically commandeer a car that Dan Marino is test driving. And then after they do this whole car chase with bullets and everything, at some point in the middle of it, the car is handling so well that Will Smith goes, Dan Marino should definitely buy this car. And the other one I thought of that I really like is the Fig Newtons in Talladega Nights.
I do love this.
It's in the way. that product placement is making fun of product placement gone too far in sports in general, specifically in NASCAR. But they paid for that.
Yeah.
Some other brand could have been there if they. Wow, this Wonder Bread is blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a funny moment. But I don't know. I thought that was one of my favorites.
I didn't really think about it until now, but there's a lot of product placement in Seinfeld. Between the Junior Mints and the Juji Fruits and the fucking the
Saab
Saabs.
9000s,
Yeah. There's a lot of that shit in there. I wonder how much is.
That's the
paid
thing, though,
for.
because we've seen product placement, probably started way before we thought it did, way before it was fairly obvious. But I still believe now in today's world, there's no brand that's being mentioned or shown on television that's not receiving something for it or paying for it. That's why you see hats covered up on reality shows with sticker tape and whatnot. But back in Seinfeld's era, late 80s, early 90s, I think there was still some stuff getting made that would reference products just because that was the better joke to make.
Yeah.
And my guess is Seinfeld probably has like 200 Pez dispensers in some collection. And that one might have been legit.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's a big car guy.
Yeah.
I always thought it was interesting that he drove the Saab, and they referenced it so much. He must really like that car in real life.
No kidding.
Guess. So some of it, I think was still natural back then, but not anymore.
I'll tell you what, man. One of the most egregious and cool product placements is the remake of The Italian Job when they used all those Mini Coopers.
Ah, so good.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, well, it sold a shit ton of Mini Coopers, too.
Well, yeah, because you feel like a spy when you're like a thief or something like that when you're driving one. Like, it's just so European and quick and stuff like that, and just looks cool.
Yeah.
The fact that they used them all for that scene, that kind of getaway chase scene.
Yep.
They're moving in concert with each other, and you can see how they're responsive and everything. I love that shit.
Yeah, that's good. And I think there were Mini Coopers in the original, and so Mini Cooper as a brand had started making them again, and it congealed nicely with the Italian Job remake, and so they used them in that again. But I don't think you'd see them on the road the way you do now. If it's not
because
for
they were
this
bought
movie.
by one of the big ones, I think.
But you go to L.A., you see, every third car is a Mini Cooper of some variety.
Yep.
Either that or what's the other, Fiat.
Yeah.
Anytime there's like some new amazing car, like when the Bond movies do an Aston Martin or whatever, it's always like, oh, that's fucking amazing. You know, it's just like you'll never have that car, but
Well, yeah. The when GoldenEye came out, he was driving a BMW Z3, and everybody wanted those.
Oh yeah.
And
But a Mini Cooper is actually achievable for a lot of middle class people. I think that's part of why it works really well. Anyway.
It's very affordable.
Yes.
Very affordable. And I love my Ford Focus, or whatever Will Ferrell says in that goddamn movie.
It's your second Daddy's Home reference.
Yeah,
here.
it is.
We are all going to see The Last Jedi in the next few days or so. We're going to be mini-potting about it. So we'll be going
about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
We'll be going into the theater. So as former theater guys, I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts about people sneaking in food and drinks into the theater to avoid paying the high prices of the snack bar. Personally, I do it just about every time I go to the theater, and I've only been caught once in a midnight release, and they were doing bag checks. Oh.
Okay, so I have an opinion on both sides of this issue. As a theater employee, and especially as a manager, I couldn't give a shit if you brought stuff in. Because the guy who sneaks food in is never going to buy popcorn at my concession stand anyway.
That's true.
Even if I catch him sneaking it in, make him put it in his car or throw it out, or he just somehow decides to follow the rule, he's not going to go spend money at the concession stand.
Right.
And those are the people I cared about. Who's coming to my concession stand? You get priority over everybody else because that's where we made our money. But as a film attendee, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Especially beef jerky. That shit's easy to throw into a Ziploc bag and stuff in your pocket. It's filling, tasty, it's got protein, get you through a whole movie.
You can sneak that in summer or winter because you can just put it in your shirt or whatever.
That's the thing.
Down your pants.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now, see, my wife, she's got a purse.
Oh, nice.
So that makes it easy, too, to sneak a variety of a bottle of water or what have you, so on and so forth.
Full bottle of champagne.
But I have finally gone long enough on my popcorn boycott that I enjoy a little popcorn now and then when I go to the movies. It's back in, after smelling like it for 12 years. I couldn't eat it for the longest time, but So I go a little both. Like I swing both ways.
I have, I guess, a multifaceted look at this because my initial reaction is no, I don't care whatsoever. I didn't care at all. It was always a hassle to tell people that they couldn't bring that type of stuff in.
Yeah.
But if you did it stupidly,
You should be
I
penalized.
had to say something. Like,
You're carrying a bucket of KFC.
yeah, exactly. Like Stephen Wright had a joke about this too. It's like I got thrown out of a theater for bringing my own food in. It's like I said I had. It's like yeah, but the concession prices are outrageous. And besides, I haven't had a steak dinner in a long time. Something like that. But yeah, I remember, I mean, yeah, it's the attitude you get from people. This guy was bringing in like a big, huge, like 20-ounce Coke, and it was in the back pocket of his pants, just hanging out. And I was like, sir, you can't bring that in here. And he kept trying to find ways to bring it in, like saying he had a condition and all this other bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, I'm sorry, I can't let you do it. And now,
condition.
I mean, I guess I could have, because he had to take some sort of medicine or some, I don't know. They always have a condition.
Yeah.
They always need to take some medicine. You have to say, no, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if you die in the auditorium. You're not bringing in that Mountain Dew, God damn it.
How much do you want to see Armageddon? Is it worth dying for?
Exactly. Do you want to die, friend? But yeah, for the most part, if people just kept it to themselves, it'd be fine. Now, there's another facet to this too, though. It's what you bring in.
Yep.
Sometimes people would bring in. Now I hate just noises in general. I get very, very jangled on any kind of noise. Popcorn, the way certain people eat popcorn is just gross.
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't like popcorn in general. I don't like wrappers. I don't like anything that distracts me from the movie. And there's people who I don't know how they live with themselves, man. They're like it just keeps going on and on. Now you have some people who are bringing in bags of potato chips.
Right.
Potato chips are the worst.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's nothing but crunch and crunch.
Everything about
and
that
bag.
is noisy. Yeah.
And then I always would get a little peeved when I'd hear the pop of a can pop.
Mm-hmm.
Just poof, and you're like, can you not bring a bottle? Just anything like that doesn't make noise. I'm fine with. Bring all the Starburst in the world. So yeah, I'll get a little upset at that type of thing. But for the most part, yeah, I would go out of my way not to say anything. The hassle's not worth it. Like Jeremy's saying, they're not going to just suddenly start buying stuff at your concession stand.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's one of those things you throw your hands up in the air and go, okay, well, he got away with it.
You're totally right about the hassle, man, because you get the litany of like, no, I got to have this for my kid, or I got to have this for this.
Stop it. Just quit. Don't you realize that you're in an unsympathetic ear right now? I don't care. I don't care about your crime.
In my brief theater career, I had to actually tell them they couldn't bring it. It was like a fucking sandwich, like in what do you call it, aluminum foil.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, no, man, no, you can't take that in there. And it was just this whole fucking thing. I think he ended up throwing that away, but I lost every other argument about that, to where I was just like, fuck, I don't give a shit, man.
You also, this is a tangent to this. I had a complaint once about some sort of light or something. I don't think it was a laser pointer, which is something that people still fucking do. I don't understand.
You saw it in Murder on the Orient
Express.
Express.
I saw it in Murder on the Orient Express. Somebody was shooting a laser pointer at the fucking screen. And so to my surprise, someone said stop.
Yeah.
And they stopped.
Yes. It was amazing.
That's how it should work.
Yeah.
And I used to have to do this thing where I'd have to go upstairs, look down into the auditorium, and find the person with their arm waving around and shit, and then go up and tell that entire row, fuck you. You getting out of here if I see that red light again. The entire row is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I know you're all together and y'all think this is hilarious that there's a red dot on the fucking screen. Ha ha ha. So witty. I'm kicking you all out for it.
Yeah.
But like, I heard so there's like a light or something flashing or something in an auditorium. So I walked into the auditorium, couldn't really see anything flashing. I don't know if this is what people were talking about, but there was a woman on her phone and she was like sitting there like looking at some baby pictures or something like that. I don't know if that was the complaint, but I'm going to go ahead and say something about it while I'm here.
Right.
And they're like, look, could you please put your phone away? And so she turned her phone over. And I said, could you turn that off? It's like, I turned it over. I'm like, that's not what I asked you to do. I need you to turn it off. And it's like went through, I think, 3 different things before she finally just like, okay, and just turned it off and everything. Like, yeah, that was real hard, wasn't it? That's so difficult.
God, I long for the days when we could go 2 hours without. I'm as bad as everybody. I don't check my phone in the movie theater. That's
right.
one if I'm at home, I won't go 2 hours without checking my phone or looking in the internet. But
some people don't realize that there's a way you can check your phone. You can still like have it upside down and turn on the light and then kind of, angle your head a little bit and see if there's anything important.
Right.
And then, or see the time, whatever you're trying to do, and then put it down. Some people, man, they're just like, they got that thing lifted up. Yeah. And I don't think they realize. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, remember when the biggest thing that you had to worry about going to see movies was just people being too loud in general?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kids talking too much or something.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's laser pointers and phones and potato chip wrappers.
I used to go to the movies when I was in college with a girl that would smoke. She would go in the back row, and like halfway through the movie, she's lighting up a cigarette. I'm like, what the fuck, man? And she's like, they never kicked me out for this. She was really hot.
She was really hot.
That's the reason.
Yes.
Like somebody probably came out, like some poor mid 30s mom came out and said somebody's smoking in there, and then they got 2 like 17-year-old ushers to go in and be like, oh, I see nothing wrong.
It's you. Anyway, yeah, bring it in, man, as long as it doesn't distract other people. Okay, if you could find a role to redeem one formerly well-received actor, like how Tarantino helped revitalize Travolta's career in Pulp Fiction, which actor would you choose and what role would you put him or her in?
So there is an actor out there who has not acted in 13 years.
Oh.
Do you know who this actor is?
Well, I'm assuming it's not one of the ones I listed. So I'm going to say
Gene Hackman.
It's Gene Hackman.
Oh!
He hasn't acted in 13 years?
Nope.
Welcome to Mooseport.
His last movie was Welcome to Mooseport. And he retired from acting after Welcome to Mooseport. He has been enjoying being a grandfather.
Good for him.
And all that. I think he's written some poetry, maybe a novel or something like that. Good for him indeed. But Welcome to Mooseport should not be his last movie.
That. I agree with that.
I know that he's probably okay with it. He's like, look, I got work that speaks for itself. Welcome to Mooseport does not define me.
Right.
But I believe PTA should write a role for Gene Hackman.
Oh.
I think Paul Thomas Anderson doing a Gene Hackman movie and giving him something along the lines of a Daniel Plainview, some sort of patriarchal type character or whatever. That would be fucking gold.
That would rule, man.
They're feeling their oil derricks.
I think at this point we'll be getting 87-year-old Gene Hackman.
Uh-huh.
Like if it started tomorrow, you'd get 87-year-old Gene Hackman, and I think just for one last thing, it would be nice for him to just get that one more.
That'd be perfect. I mean, look at what happened with the Royal Tenenbaums. Mm-hmm. Like in the hands of a talented director. In a role like that, like a patriarchal role, man, he was awesome.
I think that's what was one of. I mean, this is it could be a million different reasons why he decided to retire then and there or whatever. But I think one of the things that I heard was that he was getting tired of being in movies like Welcome to Mooseport. Like there was a point where Gene Hackman was in like 5 movies a year, just he's playing really hard, just really bad movies.
Yeah.
And everything. And I think he probably got tired of that rat race there, where the director doesn't know what they're doing, the studio doesn't know what they're doing. But now we're in an era where there are definitely studios out there that like your A24s and the Megan Ellison one, the what is that?
Annapurna.
Mm-hmm. You those kind of studios would allow you to do what you want and get somebody who knows what he's doing, like PTA. I think that'd be a good swan.
Yeah,
song.
man.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I wanna throw out one, but I have another answer coming. But if I was actually Tarantino, and for a while there, he was doing this almost every film. Like he put Travolta in Pulp Fiction. Everybody's like, you restored him to greatness. And then he did Robert Forster and Jackie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, oh, he's back to great. He should cast Brendan Fraser
Oh.
in one of his final couple movies.
Mm-hmm.
Give Brendan Fraser some vulgar lines to say, some kind of wacky, crazy assassin character to play in a Tarantino universe, and come back with a bang. Brendan Fraser's been gone for too long.
Do you think he could pull that off? Fraser could pull that off.
I think so.
Really?
Yeah, because he's known for that squeaky clean type of thing, but a role like that would really bring him back, I think. Now maybe they just found out that he couldn't do it or whatever. He played kind of a dark character in Crash, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think he shows enough charm. It's obviously way cartoony, but in the Mummy movies, I think, I'm not saying charm always equates to being able to spew, vulgar dialogue,
Right.
but I don't think Travolta's reputation was any dirtier than Brendan Fraser's before he did Pulp Fiction, and he pulled it off fine.
Yeah.
But the real one I want to go with is way too specific.
All right.
But it's similar to Chris's in that I want to bring somebody out who's in a self-imposed retirement, and that's Rick Moranis.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Mostly because I miss him. But then I started thinking, because I think I've seen an interview. They approached him for the Ghostbusters thing. He's not interested. He's happy doing what he's doing. So it has to be something big. It has to be something good to pull him out of retirement. And so I thought eventually they're going to make a biopic about Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And if you get Albert Brooks and James Brooks involved in that, you can have a nice sappy drama,
Yeah.
yada, yada. And then you give Moranis this role, and maybe you cover the last 5 years of Robin Williams' life or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that would be the kind of a role, both because it's a meaty role, but also I just have this feeling that most of the comedians that came out of that era probably have a lot of affinity for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that might draw him out.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I that's another guy that I think, he retired because, he had his kids. He's making his kids going through college and all that. And I think I saw an article, I think, I don't know, a few years ago that said something like, well, what about after they get out of college and stuff like that? And so,
People are calling him.
Yeah. That type
So
of
they
thing.
graduated, Rick.
Yeah.
What's happening?
But I think whatever he's doing, he's enjoying doing it. And I don't know if any kind of big role would get him out. Although I would love to see Rick Moranis come back because
I could see
he's
him on
so
the
good.
phone. Hey, Rick, we got a pitch for you. Honey, I blew up the alpaca farm.
He's just so.
You could do My Blue Heaven too.
Yes.
All right, so I've got this affinity. Despite not liking singles, I really like Campbell Scott,
Mm-hmm.
and Campbell Scott has been gone from the public eye for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
He's done TV and stuff like that. I almost, as I was writing this out, I almost said, well, he was in La La Land, but that's Tom Everett's.
Well, and he also played. It was in the Amazing Spider-Man.
Right.
He played Peter Parker's dad.
Yep. So,
that was
yeah,
the last time I think I saw him.
Yeah, I think he's been on some TV and stuff like that, but I think if he had a good meaty role, he could really sink his teeth into. And I thought about doing like a war movie that I think he would fit in really well as like the seasoned general or the colonel on the field that's making the calls and everything. Specifically about an Afghanistan type of thing, nothing involving horses. But maybe he's in that movie. Who knows? But yeah, I think Campbell Scott could make a star turn and do like a pretty sizable thing. The other one that I was thinking about, you remember Olivia D'Abo?
Oh yeah. Olivia D'Abo.
Is it pronounced Dabo?
I'm pretty sure it's D'Abo. When
it
the Wonder Years was going on and everything, and then I believe was it Greedy that came out? I think she was in Greedy. I remember them going the movie guy, the movie narration guy saying Olivia Dabo.
Ah,
it could be one of those things where it's Diabo. They say it so fast, it sounds like
Yeah,
Dabo.
because it's that little D apostrophe Abo.
What about Terrence Trent D'Arby?
Olivia Dabo is a really, really good actress. I mean, she was in The Wonder Years. She was Kevin's sister, and I kind of fell in love with her when I was watching that. In addition to Winnie Cooper, I fell in love with all of them.
She's one of my all-time. Yeah.
But she's so gorgeous and she's so talented. And she was in Noah Baumbach's Kicking and Screaming as the main love interest. And she was terrific in that. She was authentic. She was believable. She was smart. I would love to see her in another Noah Baumbach film. I think he could get this performance out of her. I did nothing to say about Elizabeth Marble's performance in the Meyerowitz stories that he did this year. She's fantastic, but I think if you put Olivia Dabo in there, it would be even better. Like she connects with that sort of dialogue and that sort of mentality. So if you're listening, both Noah and Olivia, you guys need to get together.
And Terrence Trent.
And Terrence Trent, you guys make a movie baby together.
Yes.
You just reminded me of Pineapple Express when like Franco's explaining to Seth Rogen the cross joint.
Yeah.
He's like, no, actually, I think he's talking about the weed that's inside
It's
it.
the Pineapple Express.
He's like, if this strain and this strain had sex and had a baby, and this strain had sex and had a baby, and those two babies had sex and had a baby,
and those two babies fucked.
Yeah,
this would be the offspring.
And Seth Rogen has that offhanded line where it's like, "This baby fucking weed."
I just want to crawl in here, man. Dear SinCast, part question, part request. Following up on your Defining the 80s podcast, I was wondering if you could discuss some of the more obscure 80s/90s movies.
Oh, this is a great
that you know, right? Because they were played repetitively on cable in that era, but seem to have been lost to time or otherwise forgotten. This person, I'll run through them real quick, has some really good offerings that I've seen maybe one of these. Gotcha with Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, baby.
You know this?
Yeah, it's like a college paintball war. Anyway, yeah, it was on. I think it was on the other day.
Oh my God. Tank, which is a James Gardner, James Cromwell, and C. Thomas Howell.
Wow.
Never
Old
heard
C.
of it.
Thomas. And then Firstborn with Terry Garr and Peter Weller.
No.
So what do you guys think are some kind of movies that we saw all the time that are lost to time?
So yeah, there's a lot in the 80s because as a kid, we got HBO around 1985. This is so weird to think about that. Like I like my family bought cable and we had HBO in 1985. I used to watch, like I said, I've said this several times, like all these movies from 84 would come on. The Natural, Never Ending Story, all that would be on during this era. But there's a few others that are really obscure that I remember. Animal Olympics. 1980 animated movie with animals in the Olympics.
Interesting.
And it has this one song that's like, now that we made it to the top. It's like these, like a rhino running and like whatever. And it's I don't remember much about it other than that.
You know, it would be awesome. And I know this is not the case, but it'd be awesome if it turned out you made that up. And that movie didn't actually exist.
Specific about
You strongly believe you remember this movie and this song, and there's
that
no
might
evidence.
be proof of parallel universes if that was the case. But I remember watching Animal Olympics all the time. Now, like a lot of things in my childhood, I don't remember a damn thing about it other than just that song, and it was animals in the Olympics. Animal Olympics. Another one was Cloak and Dagger. Henry Thomas movie after he did A.T.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about this, I think it's an Atari video game that has these military secrets on it.
Right.
His dad is Dabney Coleman, but he's never around, so he invents like this super spy version of Dabney Coleman that's going around and everything. It's like there's even a scene, I think, at the end where like an airplane explodes or something like that, and we think that Dabney Coleman's on it, but he comes walking out of the flames at the end. And everything. But I remember the most about Cloak and Dagger was the video game itself was kind of stupid. It wasn't. I don't think it was even the point of that game.
Nice.
It was that you have to finish it to get to the military secrets and everything. Man, in the mid '80s is all about some war games.
Oh, yeah,
it was
man.
like all about that. But I remember he has friends who these like he befriends this elderly couple, and he thinks that they're the only ones who can help him and everything. And then he, for whatever reason, I think he's heard something about a 3-fingered woman. And there's a point where she pulls off like a mitten or something like that, and she's got 3 fingers or something like that. It's kind of scarred me for life when I was 7 years old. But again, in the 80s, they didn't give a fuck about your feelings. So Cloak and Dagger was another one. Another one that I thought of was Midnight Madness. This is sort of a scavenger hunt movie that was going on. It had Michael J. Fox, one of the early Michael J. Fox. I don't think he was in it a lot or anything, but I was the idea of these scavenger hunts when I was like that age. Now this movie came out in 1980, I think. I didn't see it until like 5, even when I was like 8 or 9 years old or whatever. But it's one of these scavenger hunt movies where they're going around the town and they have to find these little things and get on to the next thing and whatever. It was really sort of like captured my imagination back in the day. I wrote down 2 others that I didn't really see on cable that much, but they're obscure enough that they just popped into my head. And I know that as a movie theater worker, like every once in a while these movies would show up on cable and I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that movie, and I'd watch it or whatever. Greedy, which is of some movie that I had mentioned just because of Olivia Dodd.
Another Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, was another Michael J. Fox. Kirk Douglas is this this guy who's about to die, and he's about to get
this movie.
Yeah, I do
great.
too. I love Greedy.
Phil Hartman's in it.
Phil Hartman's in it. He's trying to decide who's gonna be the heir to his fortune. And Michael J. Fox is of course our good guy, but everybody in this movie is doing horrible things. And it has a really fun ending to it and everything. Actually something that I would recommend. It's actually a decent movie.
When was that released?
94.
Yeah.
But I believe this was the trailer that I was thinking of when I was thinking of the Olivia Dabo's name. Because Olivia Dabo is just eye candy in this movie. Here's a movie that you should not watch.
Ooh.
Exit to Eden.
1994
as well. Now, I walked into this movie many times because Dana Delaney.
Yep.
Dana Delaney.
Totally insane.
Yes, Dana Delaney's so hot in this movie, and I would sit through the stupidest shit just to see Dana Delaney.
There is some stupid shit.
It's got Rosie O'Donnell and Dan Aykroyd are like undercover investigators.
Yep.
Of this island where they do all this sex stuff and everything. That's pretty much what it is. And
that's as appealing as it sounds, kids.
Yep. And like it's a terrible movie, but yeah, it's obscure enough that I was like, why do I remember that? So it's because of Dana Delaney.
Yeah, you don't hear much about Exit to Eden anymore.
No.
This was one of my favorite questions I think we've gotten because I didn't have cable until maybe 6th grade. 7th grade, and even then it was basic cable. But there were a lot of movies in the 80s that played over and over again that have been lost to time. I'll stay with Michael J. Fox and talk about The Secret of My Success.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Which has, once Back to the Future kind of became the thing, anything he basically made around that era disappeared, even Teen Wolf to a degree, because when Teen Wolf came out, that movie was the shit among my friends for like a year or whatever.
Well, it was the 1985 Back to the Future and Teen Wolf were 1 and 2 as far as box office.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Teen Wolf was number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that big of a hit.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Fuck Teen Wolf. Anyway, Secret of My Success, young Michael J. Fox gets a job at his uncle's company in the mailroom, finds an empty office, decides to create a fictional board member who works there, and basically keeps going back and forth between pretending to be that guy, going to meetings. All he has to do is avoid his uncle. He's the only person that knows what he looks like. Falls in love with this other executive girl who's really hot. At one point, his uncle asks him to drive his wife home, and she fucks him. By the end of the movie, Michael J. Fox has engineered a hostile takeover of the company using the wife who fucked him in the pool house's stock to basically oust the uncle and be put in charge of the entire company.
Wow.
Also has a song I remember. The secret of my success
Yes.
is that I'm living 24 hours a day. Anyway.
Yeah, by the way, totally wrong about Teen Wolf.
Oh, well, at least you didn't say 100%.
It was 26th that year.
You only missed 25 movies.
And by probably hundreds of millions of dollars. No, I think the reason I think that is because I always think it's amazing that Michael J. Fox did both of those movies in the same year. And Teen Wolf was a hit, but it wasn't, it made $33 million in 85, which is in today's dollars probably $100 million hit, something like that. But Rambo First Blood Part 2 was actually number 2 that year.
Wasn't he also doing Family Ties at that point too?
He was. It's one of the crazy, I don't know how he did all that. I think he shot a lot of his Family Ties that he needed to shoot early.
Yeah.
Because he knew he was going to, because he wasn't on Back to the Future right away. It was Eric Stoltz. So he had to do his Family Ties, and then I guess they may have written him out enough to be like, not have to be there all the time. I don't know how they did it, but I know that he did enough of his Family Ties that he could go and do Back to the Future, and then I believe it was I don't know, maybe Teen Wolf, maybe it came first. I'm not sure. It was one of those just crazy years. I don't know how in the world he did it. You have to be his age to do it.
He was involved with the number 1 and number 26.
He was the number 26th of 1985. That's no joke.
At least we know that specifically now, so that's a little bit of
well,
trivia.
Yeah, it's funny because it's Back to the Future, Rambo First Blood Part 2, and then Rocky 4. Those were the only movies that made over $100 million.
Sly had a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Another one. Today, most people who know Patrick Dempsey probably know him from that doctor show.
Yeah. Grey's Anatomy.
Never watched a single episode.
Really?
He's mixed something. I know that. But for a hot minute there in the 80s, he was a Michael J. Fox-like teen star, rising star.
Mm-hmm.
I remember most people talked about and remember this movie, Can't Buy Me Love.
Yep.
Which I was in love with the girl in that movie.
Yes.
And that's kind of like a rags to riches. It's basically Aladdin in present
She's
day.
all that for the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember seeing over and over and over again this movie called Loverboy.
Yeah.
Where Patrick Dempsey played a pizza delivery guy who becomes a whore.
Yeah.
Where all these middle-aged women are ordering pizzas just so they could fuck this guy. And he's like a teen, and I don't know if he's saving for college. I don't remember anything other than, even sanitized for TV, the idea of this kid repeatedly delivering pizzas and getting sex gave me a boner. The last one I want to mention, and hopefully somebody out there remembers this movie, Jim Cotta.
I don't remember.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Oh my God. It's like a gymnast kung fu race.
Oh.
To the death. It's got like a little Mortal Kombat. And it's got like a $6 million like sound effects to like the gymnast moves this guy does. I feel like it's all set on like a desert mountain. I don't really remember much more than gymnastics plus karate in some kind of race.
Jim Cotta.
Jim Cotta.
Nice.
Gym like gym class.
Uh-huh.
Cotta like Cotta.
Yeah.
Like welcome back Cotta.
Yes.
Yes.
Man, I thought you were going to mention Daryl.
Okay, so Daryl was the other one on my list that I've seen a bazillion times. I just thought it would connect with fewer people.
That's the one that's D.A.
Yes.
Okay, never seen that one.
I watched that a million times because
me
I had
too.
it on videotape. My grandmother, for whatever reason, recorded. She's like, I bet you'd like this. So I watched it. She always put it on anytime I was over there. I was like, all right.
Yeah, I saw it a million times. I liked it a lot. I just didn't, for some reason, I thought Jim Cotta would hit more. You raised your arms right before I said Jim Cotta, and then nothing happened.
I thought I was the only other person that had seen Daryl. Okay, I've got a few. In 1980, there's a movie called Private Eyes with Don Knotts and Tim Conway. And it was a spoof of like the Sherlock Holmes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're bumbling and they don't know what's going on, but they're investigating the death of this old man Morley, the land baron or something like that. And Don Knotts and Tim Conway in that era, I thought were fucking hilarious, man.
Mm-hmm.
They just tickled my funny bone, and I loved watching that. I watched that all the time.
Yep.
a movie called Little Monsters came out
Oh,
in 1989.
Is this the one with Fred Savage?
Fred Savage and Howie Mandel.
And the apple juice pea?
Yes.
I didn't see this either.
This is not a good movie.
No.
You should not watch this movie at all.
No.
But Fred Savage has a monster in his closet or under his bed, and it's Howie Mandel, and he's
no makeup, nothing. Just literally Howie Mandel under his bed.
Hey guys, how's it going?
but he's like this prankster. He's like a Howie Mandel type of prankster, and they go on adventures in the monster world and everything. And then suddenly Fred Savage starts to turn into a monster. I literally read the novelization of this movie. I loved it so much.
Wow.
But it's not a very good movie.
No,
So,
and there's a whole apple juice pea scene that
Yeah.
tells you everything you need to know about the
Yes.
comedy.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I do want to mention, because I watched it a lot, Ghost Dad.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was
God.
Bill
I have
Cosby.
seen this.
Bill Cosby had this weird. Everything about Bill Cosby is weird.
Yes, at these
But
days.
his movie career was just always weird to me, because he did Leonard Part 6, which was a parody of like James Bond and all that stuff, and Rambo and things like that. And then he did Ghost Dad, where he's this busy, executive that dies in a bus accident, but still has to close the deal after he's dead as a ghost, and then win his kids back too, but he's still a fucking ghost.
Yeah.
So, Ghost Dad was one in 1990. And then my last one is also a Michael J. Fox movie. It's
Sweet.
Doc Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Cars.
Cars,
Yeah.
exactly. He gets stranded at a car wreck in this southern town, and he gets sentenced to work in the hospital or something like that. And it's noteworthy because there was a very audacious nude scene. For
PG-13.
Julie Warner.
Julie Warner, yeah.
It was PG-13, and it is out there. And
Yeah.
it
It's
was,
like amazing. It's a miracle that movie's PG-13.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I got to see it.
It's not, exactly, yeah. And it doesn't show, it's not just a quick snippet of boobage. It's like,
I was like 14 when that movie came out, and we're all like, let's go to Doc Hollywood. And then this scene comes up, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Am I in the right theater?
And then she says the best thing ever. You
Yes.
can blink now.
oh my God, it's great. And she plays a great character in there too. It's actually a fun movie. It's worth watching. That's Michael J. Fox really like in his prime.
Yeah,
And I went through a thing where I went back and caught everything he made in that era that I had never seen, like Life with Mikey. Do you ever see that? That's a James Brooks movie. And they all have a certain. There's something about Michael J. Fox, man. He's just likable, and I'll watch anything that he's. Bright Lights, Big City.
Oh, yeah.
You ever see that?
Yeah.
He's on a downward spiral of alcoholism and cocaine, but I still like him in that movie because he's Michael J. Fox.
He after the Parkinson diagnosis, he was on a multi-episode arc of Scrubs.
Yeah.
That was really, really
Well, he
good
was on.
too.
I think he was on The Good Wife. I'm pretty sure he was on The Good
He
Wife.
has
on a
this
recurring
thing
role.
in Scrubs where he's like the perfect doctor. People show up and like try to learn from him, talk to him, and everything. He's the greatest communicator. He's the greatest surgeon, but he's got OCD is his thing. And so it's a comedic thing. It's funny and everything, but he's got this scene at the very end of his tenure there where he's got OCD so bad that he can't stop washing his hands. And so Zach Braff is talking to him in the washroom basically. And he's like, man, how do you do it? How, can you just tell me how you can do all this stuff? And he's like, well, I would if I could stop washing my hands 50 times over. And he just screams. He's got this wonderful dramatic moment that was really, really exciting. I loved him in that. I liked that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here's a fun one. A question for a future podcast. Nostalgia Critic joked in a review of a terrible Christmas special about the last line being, shut that door, and how that was a terrible way to end the movie. That's pretty funny. So what do you guys think are some of the worst last lines of movies? For this person, they didn't think anything would ever be as bad as, I'm not scared, no more pull-ups. Nice. From the end of 2012. That is awful.
That's
That is
pretty bad.
really terrible.
Pretty damn bad.
Fucking John Cusack in that fucking movie. It's just, it's awful. Anyway, what are you guys' thoughts about the worst last lines? And hell, let's throw in some best last lines.
See, I don't know if I have this. I don't know if this qualifies for worst. There's a line that I have conflicts with in 7, and that's the Ernest Hemingway once wrote, You know, the world is a fine place and worth fighting for. I agree with the second part.
Right.
It is a perfect thing to hear at the end because Morgan Freeman's very soothing, and you know, it's like we just saw some shit.
Yeah.
But then when you really break down that line, it's like, so the world's a terrible place and worth fighting for. I don't know what to think about that. It is thought provoking. At the very least, and it's not nearly as bad as the examples we've been given for this question and everything. But I thought very long and hard about this, and some of the I'm going to get to the other one here in a minute. It's not a last line of the movie, but it's close to the end of the movie. But that 7 one has given me fits occasionally because it's like it's okay. So it's a terrible world. Why is it worth fighting for?
Yeah.
At that point, then why aren't you just a nihilist at this point? But in American President, now American President actually has a great last line, which is apparently I have a rose garden.
Yeah.
Which is, he throughout the movie, he's tried to get roses for his girlfriend. He can't because he keeps saying he's the president on the phone. They always think it's crank call.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. He finally gives Annette Bening roses at the end of it. And she goes, wow, you were finally able to be president and get roses at the same time? And he goes, well, apparently I have a rose garden. But there's some lines. This is a kind of a different question, I guess. But they have the all-time worst get back together lines I've ever heard. A couple who has been fighting. He says, I didn't bring up 445, which is a bill about guns. I didn't bring up 445 so that you would come back. And she goes, and I didn't come back because you brought up 445. And they get together. And it's the worst freaking set of lines I've ever heard to get back together in my life. And so that's what immediately got into my head. Of course, there's several lines after that. But that's what I came up with as far as my worst is concerned. On the best ones, out of context, the last line of Speed is, okay, I guess we'll have to base it on sex then.
Yeah.
And this is after, of course, in the movie, she says relationships based on intense experiences never work. He repeats that to her again while they're making out on the now destroyed train that they've gone through and everything. And she goes, okay, well, I guess we'll have to base it on sex then. And then also, I'm finished from There Will Be Blood.
Oh, perfect. I have thought about that last line way too much.
Mm-hmm. It means so many things.
It means so many things. And it was so weird to hear when the first time I saw it, I didn't know what to make of it. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, what? Okay, yeah, it could mean that. And I still don't know if I know.
I think
exactly.
It means about it. I mean, it means a lot of things to me. First off, just on the surface, it means I'm done with this guy that I'm telling my butler I'm done with this guy. I'm finished also could mean that he is now going to go to jail for the rest of his life for killing somebody. I'm finished could also mean I'm done with everything I need to get done on this earth.
Yeah.
And so it's got 3 meanings for me.
Yeah.
Couldn't it also mean he just jizzed his pants?
It could also mean that. Well,
he really enjoyed killing the fuck out of Eli.
Especially with a bowling pin. That's where you get some really good sexual friction.
The last line of Your Eyes Wide Shut is the reason I hate that movie. And I don't even know what it is. I think she says something like, let's go home and fuck.
She says there's one thing that we're going to have to go home and do immediately. And there's a pause of about 10 minutes.
And then she says fuck?
She goes, fuck. And then it cuts immediately.
Yeah. And they're in a fucking toy store, too.
Yeah, they're in a toy store.
Everything about that bothers me.
Why does it bother you so much?
Everything I just saw was for nothing. No one's going to learn any lessons.
Yeah.
We have heat. Let's go fuck.
Do we have to learn lessons when we watch movies, though?
No, but I want a character who goes on an arc to have some sort of significant change.
Here's why
I don't feel like anybody does.
I think he has gone through a significant
here's why I think
change.
that does work. Because the one thing that nobody does in that movie is fuck. Except for the orgy guys.
Yeah.
But Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman don't fuck after the party thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have sex at all. And this whole thing is a pursuit of sex. and her kind of having this psychological hold over him with her not having sex with this guy but wanting to. So it's like their desires have built up so much outward
Can't she
that
still
she wants
say
to bring him
less
inward.
blunt and crass? Couldn't it just end? There's one thing we're gonna have to do as soon as we get home. Cut to credits. It's the beat and her going, fuck.
I see, yeah.
It felt like, we got to end with something vulgar.
Yeah.
Even though this movie has spent the entire movie dipping its toes in raunchy sex and thoughts, it hasn't really gotten vulgar like that. And it just felt like an easy bow. Like, anyway, I don't hate the movie.
I would agree.
I said I did. I don't hate the movie.
No. I would agree if it were a lesser, and I don't mean to get fucking Kubrick staring at me here, but I think in a lesser movie that was, more about like actually getting your fuck on and stuff like that, or like maybe even a comedy or something like that, I think it would ring hollow. But I think in this context, I think that works for me because she's been fairly chaste outside of her reported, feeling like her transgression. She's been taking care of the kids. She's been doing the stuff at work.
Well, isn't this also this line? I've thought of like two different things here because there's the Chris Rock routine where he's talking about like ever since I got married, I haven't gotten a really good blowjob. Yeah. I've had fellatio. And so it's stuff like that. And there's what's the movie I'm thinking of? Your Friends and Neighbors. There's a scene where Aaron Eckhart's talking to his wife, Amy Brenneman, and he's like, I think we should just like take all our clothes off and treat each other like meat. Yeah. And I think there's this idea that if they have had sex in the past, it's been this really like mechanical, just like we're making love, so on and so forth. Nothing that's, we're pretending here. Like we don't want to like really just go at it, and we should do it every once in a while. So I think that's maybe possibly where it's kind of going towards there. Like, it's like, no, let's not make love. Let's just fuck for once. And I don't know. I think you have to dissect that. We probably could spend 2 hours dissecting that line, whether it's an actual good, like for the movie type line, because I still don't know. It's one of those like, I'm good with that. But at the same time, I agree with Jeremy. I don't know if it's appropriate totally. I'm gonna have to think about this some more and read some novels on this whole.
I think I've told you my experience watching that movie. I'd never seen anything like it, and it had me. Like even some of the stupid decisions Tom Cruise's character makes, I can understand why he's making them, and I was invested. And then it comes down to this, fuck, boom, cut the titles, and I just felt used, like manipulated. Like there was not a greater, deeper meaning coming. Like I had sort of been.
No, yeah, there's no like end of 2001 or anything like that.
No,
there's
it's
no
just
payoff.
Okay. I wanted to cheat on you. You wanted to cheat on me. Let's go cheat on each other by fucking each other. And it's just, I don't know. Anyway, the last line that I love is the one from The Prestige. Michael Caine's
gives me chills every time.
You want to be fooled.
Yeah,
and I think he's either mimicking or repeating the opening narration.
He is.
And, you see what's on screen right when he says it. And another great timed cut to black.
To be fooled.
Yeah. It's perfect.
That movie's just, again, it's a fucking puzzle. I don't know how they ever made that movie. I swear to God, they just shot willy-nilly and then they went into the editing room and, like, smoked magic grass. Somehow pieced it all together. Because every time I watch that movie, I'm shocked at how much of the ending you see in the beginning.
Yep.
Because you don't realize, it feels like when you think back on that movie, it starts with the two of them working for the magician. Which knot is he going to tie? And the wife is in the... But it doesn't start there. Like, you're in Colorado with Angier. What's his name's in prison. And then it just hops all over that timeline in the absolute perfect... Like, almost God made that movie. Yeah. I don't know how anyone else... Their brain could even handle it.
Yeah, anytime you think about, like, no, they missed that. You go... They didn't miss that.
I don't know. It's
perfect.
ridiculous.
Okay, so I've got one that may be a little bit divisive, but the end of The Dark Knight, almost a perfect movie. I thought that the Two-Face stuff was a little bit tacked on at the end, especially when he starts going after Gordon's family and all that stuff. And then it has that regular ending where Two-Face is killed, in the service of Gordon's family and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon in these new Batman movies has nothing for me. I don't care about Commissioner Gordon, whether it's in the Nolan universe or whether it's J.K. Simmons showing up in Justice League. But he delivers the last line of The Dark Knight where he's like, we'll pursue him because he can take it. He's not our hero. He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a dark knight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, is that even necessary?
Mm-hmm.
We'll go after him because he can take it. The fuck does that mean? that holds nothing for me. If you cut off that last line, I'd be perfectly happy.
I agree. It adds nothing. I agree completely.
It's just getting a roll credit.
And I just don't look. I think they've explored Jim Gordon really cool ways in the comics, but the movies have never tried. From Burton's on, he's always just been this tertiary character that
turns on the light.
Yeah, they try to give him some meat in The Dark Knight with the whole faking his death and his wife screams it back. It doesn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Gary Oldman's a great actor. J.K. Simmons is a great actor. The movies aren't treating this as a character that needs depth.
Yeah.
Just like Alfred. I mean, Michael Caine's Alfred is great because it's Michael Caine, not because they gave him a bunch of depth of character.
Mm-hmm. It would have been a good bookend, too, to that movie to have it just silent and showing, well, not silent, but showing him, on his motorcycle or whatever. And I know I'm not getting the name of the fucking vehicle. Or whatever,
on his little bikey thing.
Yeah, on his little bike. And you see, cops chasing after him and all that stuff. Because it would have been a silent, it would have been just a music ending when it begins with a musical like just the sparest of sound beginnings, too. But maybe they just felt like they needed to have that one heroic thing that somebody says at the end and says, we're conflicted about this guy.
Here's something I don't understand. In The Dark Knight, the Batmobile crashes.
Yes.
And pulls together enough Iron Giant's together enough spare parts to make the Bat Cycle, whatever, the Bat Pod, I think is what the technical term for it is. 8 years later, Dark Knight Rises, he's still driving the Bat Pod. Even though in Dark Knight Rises, we see like 8 more of those Batmobile vehicles that are in the arsenal.
Right.
And don't tell me he couldn't get one of those ready in time, because the first time we see him driving the Bat Pod, he also pulls into the alley and he's driving the Bat Plane.
Yeah.
Helicopter thing that he somehow got ready and painted black. So I just don't understand why he thought, okay, I'm back in the game. I'm going to stick with the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'm going to go get me another thing that has missiles and shit. And I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. For my best line, this is an obscure movie that Chris recommended to me. It's called Frank. So this is Michael Fassbender
with a big thing on his head.
With a big thing on his head.
A goiter.
Yeah, well, he's got a big head. It's like like the DJs now with the Dead Mouse.
Dead Mouse.
And Marshmallow has one of these big heads that obscure the face and everything. In Frank, he's got like a whole air conditioning unit in there. Never takes it off. Never takes it off the entirety of the movie until the very end.
Ballsy for an actor, I think.
It is. And what this movie does is you fall in love with this dude. Like, he's super talented. He's super nice. He could just do anything. Like, he holds everybody together, basically. And everything falls apart when Donald Gleason takes his... I'm spoiling the movie a little bit, but you'll still enjoy it. Everything falls apart with him when Donald Gleason takes his head off. And he ends up going to a psychiatric institution and everything. And so the band tries to... The final scene is the band trying to play without him. And they're like a house band, basically. And they're playing, serviceable music. And Frank ends up coming into the bar and jamming with them. The whole thing is that they can do improvisational stuff. And the way he writes lyrics is he looks around and everything. And his refrain for this song is, I love you all. And he's looking at the wall. See, it sounds like he's saying, I love you, wall. And then it builds up to this beautiful ballad. And at the end, he's just screaming, I love you all. Huh. And he's talking about loving you all. And God, I just got chills from doing that, man. It's a fucking great ending
I love
to a
that
very
ending.
interesting movie.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm off to check that out.
Yeah, it's good. It's on, I believe it's on Netflix.
All right.
Yeah, I should get your Blu-ray back too.
or you could bring my Blu-ray back and I could give it to Jeremy.
Hey guys, just got on the SinCast train and I love it. Thank you. While listening to the Mount Rushmore podcast, I thought of a question. What movie has a soundtrack that takes you out of the movie when rewatching? My example is Lady Hawk. I loved it as a kid, but when I try to watch it now, the horrible soundtrack destroys it. What do you think? That's a good question.
I'm not sure if there's been any movies that I've watched that I watch over and over or watch a second time that the score took me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you a movie I watched that I like the score, but it takes me out of it, and it's Jackie.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie has great music, but everything's so dramatic. I mean, the movie's about what Jackie does after JFK is dead, and it's basically the decisions she makes about where his funeral arrangements are and where his coffin's going to be taken and all that. And then this music's just super violin-y and all that type of stuff. It's just very heightened, like there's something really you have to be worried about going on during the thing. And it's like I like the movie. I like Natalie Portman in it and all that. And the music is good. It just feels out of place.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of it because you're sitting there going, that's some really nice music there. It doesn't feel like it should be with the scene, but I really, really like it.
Both the Amazing Spider-Man films have an odd middle of the movie pop song.
Yeah.
Under some kind of montage. The one I'm going to talk about is Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it has a normal score in the beginning, normal score in the ending, and somewhere along the middle where he's learned more about his dad and his dad's intentions or what have you, it just cuts to this Philip Phillips song, Gone, Gone, Gone. Give me reason to believe you would do the same for me, because I would do it for you. And I guess he's doing it for his dad.
For you.
And I'm just I've always thought, I bet you this guy's like Philip Phillips' god uncle or something. Like the guy, Mark Webb making the movie. Because otherwise, or maybe, I think I Googled this. I don't remember what I found, but I thought, well, maybe Philip Phillips is signed to Sony, and Sony forced the song into, it's not a bad song.
Right.
It's so out of place for and now here's the pop song that paid to be here. And anyway, the first movie has a very similar moment, but I can't remember
Isn't
that
it
song.
3 Doors Down?
What?
I think, what's the song in the first one? Isn't it 3 Doors Down?
I don't know.
Because I originally thought it was another Philip Phillips song, but when I Googled him, he only showed up on Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I didn't feel like diving down to find.
I know that they.
Coldplay has one, Till Kingdom Come. And then Nickelback's Hero was in Spider-Man 3. 2?
That was that Chad Kroger.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They say that a hero. Whatever.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
As a non-participant, just sitting here watching and listening, that was awesome.
Well, and Spider-Man 2 also had Macy Gray.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
During the one scene. Exactly what that sounds like.
Well, she had that one hit, and they were like, she's the next Mariah Carey. We better make her the star of our New York City Times Square parade.
Right.
I try to say goodbye.
That's not even the song she's singing in that movie. In the movie, she's singing some other song.
Yeah. Some of those other Macy Gray hits that we all know about.
She's singing "The Secret of My Success."
Yes.
She's singing the theme from Animal Olympics.
That was in the first Spider-Man, by the way.
The hero.
song, yeah. Everything was inspired by Animal Olympics. I think the Return of the Jedi was inspired by Animal Olympics.
Definitely. One thing that really surprised me, because I hadn't seen Gangs of New York in a while, and when you watch that again, it's not as good of a movie as I remembered. From a lot of perspectives. He does this weird, during the fights in particular, Scorsese does this weird Oliver Stone type of thing where he slows down the footage and he makes it all kind of edited like a music video or something like that. And what's weird is that first fight with Liam Neeson's and Bill the Butcher, they yell and all that stuff. And then when they start fighting, it's this Irish type of music, which is totally period appropriate. And then at some point when Bill and Liam look over for each other, there's this weird fucking EDM stuff that comes in like, what the fuck is that, man? And it completely takes you out of the movie. I think it comes back in the last fight with Leo and Bill the Butcher too. But it's just so bizarre because it starts off fine and then it just evolves into like Junkie XL or something like that. It's like, all right, it's the David Guetta remix or something like that.
Yeah.
That was a great impression of the beat, by the way. My wife and I were in a car yesterday and Uptown Funk was on. And you know where it does that multiple hit of it does it multiple times in the song, but without prepping her, without even really thinking, I just went and like she lost her shit. Anyway,
it's a mega mailbag, baby. All right, SinCast. Combined cinematic universes are all the rage currently, but I wonder if you could combine two films or film universes to create the best cinematic universe of your own, what two would you choose?
Okay, now in the context of the question where they're asking for the best,
yes,
I'm not going to get the best, but I have always wanted to put the Gremlins and the Purge in the same movie.
Wow.
Because the Gremlins, well, just Gremlins are about rules. You have to follow rules on that. But maybe Purge Society has gotten to the point where people like to grow mogwais and stuff like that. You know, however they grow mogwai. They just add water, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I've always wanted to see what would happen if Gremlins were out on Purge night, and it would fuck some people up, man.
That'd be insane. I bet somebody's working on that right now.
Absolutely. I just think it'd be fun. The other one I thought of was Wall Street and The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, nice.
Which isn't necessarily two franchises getting together, but I think it would be cool to have all the basic sharks that are in Wall Street face off against the ones that are in Wolf of Wall Street.
Nice. Yeah.
And you could have 20-something-year-old Charlie Sheen going up against Leonardo DiCaprio. Michael Douglas is trying to, they're all trying to fuck each other, basically.
I'd love to see Gordon Gekko and Jordan Belfort just having a conversation.
Yeah,
man.
for sure. The thing is, Michael Douglas and Terrence Stamp in the original Wall Street have that. There's that great moment where Sheen's just basically fucking Douglas over by he gets Douglas is gonna do this massive thing where he cashes out huge on this one stock. So Sheen does everything normal like usual, but then Terrence Stamp comes in and starts buying up stock and then selling it and making it cheap. So Douglas has got all this nearly worthless stock in his. That's the whole sort of thing in the Wall Street. It'd be great if there were all that happening in those those two universes. Those people just trying to fuck each other.
Yeah.
With a whole bunch of stuff, and they think that there's no way that this person will get on their stock and everything, or do whatever else that you do in Wall Street daily that fucks people over. But I just think it would be fun having all those characters.
It's interesting because the Wall Street characters, as vulgar as they seemed at the time, are nothing compared to Wolf of Wall Street.
No,
nothing at all.
Well,
they're not talking about having midget parties where they're throwing it at a...
Nope. I mean, there is definitely some, serious evil going on, though, with Gekko's character, because, that's obvious overstatement, but, he's talking about, it's not about living comfortably. It's about being able to have your own jet and being able to win, and winning is the biggest thing and everything. He doesn't even really care about the people he fucks over. It's just about winning. With the Wolf of Wall Street, you also have to think about stuff like Boiler Room, which is also based on the Jordan Belfort stuff too. Boiler Room and Glengarry Glen Ross, you can get people thrown into that whole thing too.
Nice.
You could,
that's definitely a lot of fucks.
Yes. It is oh my yes. That is the most fucks.
That is all the fucks.
Yes.
I'm not answering the question in terms of creating a cinematic universe or even mashing two up, but I have a fan theory about two movies that I like.
All right.
Mr. White, Tom Hanks' character from That Thing You Do, and Carl Hanratty, his character from Catch Me If You Can, are the same person. Now, That Thing You Do takes place in 1964, and their rise to fame and fall is all within a calendar year. But Mr. White which doesn't have to be his real name in Hollywood in the music business.
Right.
Nope.
Maybe his real name was Carl Hanratty, and that didn't look as good on a business card. But he shows signs in this movie of being weary of the industry. And he even says to Tom Everett Scott at the end, when the band has broken up, one-hit wonders. It's a very common story. Like I could see him walking away after this final last one-hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he goes to join the FBI. He's good with numbers.
Yeah.
Abagnale started his fraud in 1963, but wouldn't have been on Hanratty's radar until 1965 or 1966.
Yeah.
Plausible to me. Same character.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
Totally not true, but I just think I like it. I think it'd be fun.
Both Hank's characters have a fun side to them, and
But
kind
they
of
both have a little bit of a gruff, all
Uh-huh.
business kind of side. Hanratty, if you just looked at him side by side, looks a little older,
Uh-huh.
more receding in his hairline, lost a little bit of his patience. That's why he tells the knock-knock joke. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just liked that when I thought of it.
For my cinematic universe, I wanted to mash up High Fidelity and Empire Records.
I'm not surprised to see you go this direction. Is it like the only two movies ever made about record stores?
No, there's several, but I just could see these characters interacting in comedic and fun ways.
For sure.
Can you imagine Barry and Renee Zellweger's character from Empire Records?
Well, you could have the two, I think it's Ethan Embry and whoever he's talking to at the end, talking about Primus at the end.
Yeah.
Especially with those guys, because those are the nerds that we're talking about.
Yeah, they're both independent record stores. One's in Delaware, one's in Chicago. You could get some epic conversations with like Anthony LaPaglia and John Cusack is like, tired of world-weary store owners that are just kind of sick of shit, but, are still in on the work. I mean, they could have like a 20-minute diatribe between the two of them about like best albums of this subgenre or something like that. And it'd be fun, man. They get into like wacky hijinks. They start dating each other. They all know kind of a bunch about music. They both have shoplifting
Shoplifters.
prevention techniques. Do the math. How much is this deck worth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
Well, that'll do it for this week. Please keep going to Facebook and the SinCast presented by Cinemasins Facebook, Reddit, SoundCloud. That's where we got all these questions.
Feed us questions. We love it.
And yeah, I mean, it leads to some pretty interesting conversations. I don't know if we're answering these questions to the absolute 100% of their spirit, but it does lead to to awesome conversations.
Fuck yeah.
I do believe so. But anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Nah.
Let's all share the muck.
Yeah.
At least the listeners
Welcome to
won't
the
get
suck.
Yes.
There's no. I keep scouring because that's in the outtakes. Like, I want to write that into outtakes a lot. Like, welcome to the suck from Jarhead.
Ah.
And I can't find on YouTube one clip of somebody saying welcome to the suck. I know it exists.
It's in the trailer.
Is it?
Yep.
I have resorted to trailers for audio clips before.
I have too.
It definitely
I didn't
is.
think
It's
about that.
100% in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, if he's
Because I
It's
watched
Peter
that trailer
Sarsgaard.
a million times.
It's Peter Sarsgaard saying it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the suck. Doo, 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 doo. It's right at the title.
He's so good in that.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. I wish Peter Sarsgaard got more roles.
Which one is he? I can't tell my Sarsgaards from my Skarsgårds anymore.
Sarsgaard's
He's the guy in Green Lantern.
Yeah, he's one of the bad guys in Green Lantern.
And is he related to the guy in Good Will Hunting?
He is not.
That's Stellan Skarsgård.
Skarsgård.
But he has a son who's an actor.
Alexander Skarsgård.
God damn it. See what I'm talking about?
And he also has another brother who was in It. He was Pennywise the Clown.
Oh, yeah.
Bill
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård.
Bill
Yeah.
Skarsgård. the Skarsgårds need to procreate more to keep up with the Skarsgårds.
Until his grandfather, Dane Coolidge.
I have a feeling it's like, I don't know where Skarsgård and Sarsgaard originate, but I have a feeling it's like the Hatfields and McCoys, like in whatever country they're like. You go back 3 centuries and these two families fucking hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
You have a K and we don't. It's like the Sneetches.
Yeah.
The Sneetches.
That Dr. Seuss book with the Sneetches, and some have stars upon theirs and some don't. Haven't
Oh,
we
yeah.
already done this? I feel like this is a deja vu right now.
I don't know.
I feel like I've brought those.
I feel like
Sneetches
I've
up
heard
before.
of this
Ooh.
recently. Like maybe you said
Sneetches.
something about it before.
Anyway, they're all the same, but some have stars on their bellies and some don't, so they hate each other and they develop this like hostility until they eventually realize, oh, we're all the same. And the guys without stars get stars, and the guys with stars, then they go. I don't remember the whole. I didn't fucking memorize it.
No. I've been reading a lot of old books because Christmas time, every night we read a Christmas story, like me and Hudson and Candy.
Yeah, that's lame.
And
I mean, cool.
Yeah. Well, last night it was the Care Bears Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Your son is like 9, right?
Yeah, but I mean it's Christmas stuff, so he didn't mind. I always liked the Care Bears.
Well, they're pretty inoffensive.
They're happy for each other. They love each other. They want to build a better society. And
They had the
everything.
word care in their name. Come on. How bad could it be?
Do you remember the Care Bears movie? That was a good movie.
Yeah, it was one of the early movies I went to.
That was a good movie.
They got together and to battle some sort of force of evil. They get together and like Care Bear stare, and then like this beam of light shoots out of their bellies, and when it combines, it's like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters. They
That's
could
awesome.
Fuck shit up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Of all of our detours, that's one of my favorite.
This is Jarhead.
Welcome to the suck.
Got it. Got it.
I may have seen this.
That's going to be in all the outtakes now.
I may have seen this a million times, this trailer.
Fucking love
Like
that
I used
trailer.
to put it on the front of movies just so that when I started it,
Welcome to the
it
suck.
would play that trailer.
I thank God for every day I wake up in the core.
Oorah.
Hoorah. I can see a Kubrick. Holy shit.
I can see clearly
shit.
now.
That is fucking awesome. It's actually a collector's edition.
It is.
Is this everything?
Everything.
Everything.
This is fun.
Yeah, it
I
is.
like
I
this
should
shit.
have brought
Mhm.
your shit today.
Yo shit.
Your shit hasn't arrived. Your shit did arrive.
Oh, you got me some shit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, be careful. At least I should say you're going to wish you were careful if you're not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Holy shit. It's been signed from Malcolm McDowell, Patrick McGee, Michael Bates, Warren Clark, John Clive, Stanley Kubrick. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh! God damn.
Nice.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh!
Some badassness right there.
Oh!
Clockwork Orange poster signed by Kubrick and McDowell
Holy
and a host of other people.
Oh my
That's a
God.
beautiful poster.
See, we wanted to do this while we were recording because I feel like the listeners will appreciate, since they've heard you talk about Kubrick so much.
Oh!
By the way, that poster you would never get away with today.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Make sure the acids in your fingers don't get into
Yeah,
it.
no
No.
shit. I should be wearing gloves.
It's when Bart and Bart Milhouse and Martin all buy the comic book in The Simpsons. They buy the #1 radioactive man, and they're like touching it with tweezers and shit. And then they
And-
decide to camp out with it.
If you flip it over and heat it slightly and put lemon juice on it, you can find the next clue that will lead you to the Shriners, not the Shriners. Who are they? The Templar, the Knights
Ah,
Templar.
yes, the Knights Templar. Yes.
I had to take it out to verify that it was what it said it was, and getting it back was...
Oh, that would have been at least like, they give you a poster with Ronald McDonald on it or some shit.
The last thing I wanted was for Barrett to open, and it's like Bad Boys 2
That would be
poster signed
so
by Martin
awful.
Lawrence.
So, you know what, though? That might be okay. It's not Clockwork Orange, but
It wouldn't hold the sentimental value.
That's
but
right.
I wouldn't turn down a Martin Lawrence Bad Boys 2
that's
poster.
right. I mean, I'd rather have Run Tell Dat, but Bad Boys is okay. Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, thank you guys.
Anyway,
Holy fuck.
so we appreciate you. Maybe the
Yeah,
listeners
damn.
don't quite realize it, but Barrett does a ton for us
Mm-hmm.
and has basically become one of the big three here in terms of there's nothing that we do that he doesn't have his fingers in. Videos, podcast, gangbangs.
Right. Well, this podcast is impossible. Impossible without Barrett.
I agree.
If Jeremy and I decided to do a podcast without Barrett, you would get one every like 6 months.
Yep, he's not lying.
It would totally be worth it, though, to wait for those 6 months.
I'm sure it would. Like we'll be sitting there talking about shit that happened in January, and then it comes out in June. Like, I have no idea how this is going to turn out. And it's like old news.
All right, so we're talking about Get Out today.
Right. Awesome.
It's also a cool package. Yeah,
it is.
Well, and also I had a DVD Kubrick collection back in the late 90s, and it didn't have Eyes Wide Shut in it, of course, by that time and everything. I think that includes Eyes Wide Shut.
It does.
And it's almost like when you look at a Kubrick collection, it's almost like looking at a Lord of the Rings collection. You start with in this particular case, you'd be like, I'm going to start with Lolita, and I'm going to go to Dr. Strangelove, and then I'm going to do it in order.
Yeah, it's going to be sequential.
And you just start seeing the madness take hold.
Yeah.
As it goes along and everything.
I've actually been wanting to watch Clockwork Orange again, because I loved that movie, and I wonder how it's going to play with me like these days.
Mm-hmm.
Or now that you have his autograph on that poster, is the movie going to play the same?
I tell you,
I'm going to love it even more. God, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's probably his best poster too.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have like a ton of options.
No, I mean,
it would have been Lolita if that had been all that I could find.
Full Metal Jacket's got a decent poster. Eyes Wide Shut has an alright poster. Shining is really good. 2001. What is it's just the stars and the.
I've seen several different things for 2001.
Yeah, Dr. Strangelove is good. Lolita is good. Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon's got that weird lettering thing. Yeah.
No, I think Clockwork Orange is the most iconic of the posters.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
That's
that's why
awesome.
we chose it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Yay! He liked it.
Jesus Christ.
Welcome to the SinCast. We're awesome.
All right. Well, the listeners can tell us if they find that to be offensive, as though we were just surfing for compliments, as opposed to like a genuine thing we wanted to share with them. And they should understand Barrett's love for Stanley Kubrick.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Next year, I'm getting you a goat.
I have gotten you a goat. You go into the back of your car and you're like leading it out. It's all wrapped and everything.
I do. I mean, I don't like to praise commercials, but I do giggle at that. I think it might be Arby's or Taco Bell, but it's a commercial where like there's a family with presents, and one is obviously a dog, but when he unwraps it, it's just a plate of food. And then there's something else that's like obviously a skateboard or whatever, but when they unwrap it, it's just a plate of food.
Oh, it's a KFC, right?
KFC,
yeah.
I think. Yeah, anyway. There you go.
I chugged a bottle of cough syrup before we came over, so that should be fun.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Chugged a bottle of it, huh?
It's like a natural, like honey and elderberries.
That's called robo-tripping.
It stinks of elderberries.
Your mother was a hamster, and your father stank of elderberries.
You know, the kids like to drink a bottle of cough syrup and get high on it.
You ever done that?
No.
Robo trip?
That's what I did. No. Why? Have you?
Yeah.
Really? Yes,
probably that dude we saw in Washington D.C. who was like,
that was the fucking craziest dude.
He's like had like what do you have, like headphones?
It was like he had like an old time cassette player
Uh-huh.
that he was holding up near his ear like a cell phone, only it's obviously like a cassette player from the 1980s.
Yeah.
And he was just screaming.
Yeah.
And it felt like we were the only two people who thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Like it felt like the rest of the city was just pretending it wasn't happening.
Yeah, they
He was just walking down the
It's like,
the
oh,
We
mall.
yeah.
were walking. He was standing on the corner.
it's just radio screaming guy.
Yeah. It's just, maybe he's there every day.
Yeah.
But he wasn't even screaming words. It was just.
Yeah.
I looked in the newspaper the next day to see if there was, crazy man screams before stabbing someone.
I texted Barrett about this after we saw it, and we're like, so what's the issue here? And he simply writes back, drugs.
I want the mail.
Now you got to fucking do that. It's going to be, I want the mail.
My voice is my passport. Verify me.